The air hung heavy, thick with the musk of decay and the promise of rain. It was the kind of night that seemed to swallow all light, leaving only shadows and whispers in its wake. The storm clouds gathered ominously, as if nature itself was conspiring to hide the sins of the city beneath a veil of darkness. My footsteps echoed on the pavement, each one a drumbeat of guilt against the silence of the night. The wet ground beneath my feet seemed to amplify the sound, turning a simple walk into a march of shame. Every step felt like a confession, a reminder of the choices that had led me here. The city, usually a symphony of noise, seemed to hold its breath, watching me, judging me. The distant hum of traffic was a mere whisper, the usual cacophony of voices and engines replaced by an eerie stillness. It was as if the city itself had turned its back on me, leaving me to face my demons alone. I could almost taste the metallic tang of fear on my tongue, a bitter reminder of my secret. The anxiety gnawed at me, each heartbeat a painful thud in my chest. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see the shadows come to life, to see the past catching up with me. I hadn't meant for it to happen, not like this. It was supposed to be different. The memories of happier times flashed before my eyes, a cruel contrast to the present. Regret weighed heavily on me, each drop of rain a reminder of what could have been. A chance encounter, a fleeting moment of connection. It had seemed so innocent, so pure. But in the blink of an eye, everything had changed. That brief touch, that shared glance, had set off a chain of events that I could no longer control. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. The ground beneath me crumbled, and I was left teetering on the precipice of a darkness I never knew existed. The abyss seemed to call to me, its depths filled with the echoes of my mistakes. I stood there, paralyzed by fear, unable to move forward or back. Now the city lights seemed to mock me, their artificial glow a poor substitute for the light that had vanished from my life. The neon signs flickered weakly, casting distorted reflections in the rain-soaked streets. I looked out over the city, feeling a profound sense of loss. The vibrant life I once knew had been replaced by a hollow existence, and I was left to wander this shadowed path alone. The face in the mirror stared back at me, a stranger's eyes reflecting my own fear. Had I always been this person, capable of such darkness? The whispers started then, insidious doubts worming their way into my thoughts. They told me I was different, a monster hiding in plain sight. The world continued as if nothing had changed. The sun rose and set. People went about their lives, oblivious to the storm raging within me. I wore a mask of normalcy, but beneath the surface the guilt gnawed at me. Every smile felt like a betrayal, every laugh a lie. The weight of my secret pressed down on me, threatening to crush me. Amidst the darkness, a glimmer of hope emerged, a sense of purpose, a need to atone for what I had done. I couldn't bring back the past, but perhaps I could use my experience to prevent others from traveling down the same path. I threw myself into my work, seeking solace in helping others. I volunteered at a local shelter, offering a listening ear and a shoulder to cry on. Each act of kindness, no matter how small, chipped away at the wall of guilt that surrounded me. It wouldn't erase the past, but it offered a flicker of redemption in the face of my sins. The guilt and paranoia never truly vanished. They lingered at the edges of my mind, waiting for a moment of weakness to surge forward and consume me. The fear of exposure became a constant companion, a shadow that followed me everywhere. News reports of the investigation flickered across the television screen, each one a stark reminder of the life I had taken and the web of deception I had woven. The city held its breath, waiting for the truth to surface. And I waited with them, my heart pounding in my chest, bracing for the inevitable moment when the walls would close in. Section 6. The Unveiling. The knock on the door came in the dead of night, a sharp, insistent sound that shattered the silence like a gunshot. It was a sound that seemed to reverberate through the very walls, sending shivers down my spine. I had been expecting it, yet it still caught me off guard. The darkness of the hallway seemed to close in around me as I reached for the doorknob, my hand trembling slightly. The air was thick with tension, every second stretching into an eternity. I knew in that instant that my time was up. The game was over. And the truth was finally out. Section 7. Echoes of Justice. The courtroom was a cold, sterile place, stripped bare of the warmth of humanity. The evidence against me was overwhelming, a damning indictment of my actions. I watched as the prosecution meticulously laid out their case, each piece of evidence a brick in the wall of my guilt. Through it all, the victim's family sat stoically, their faces etched with a grief so profound it transcended words. Their pain was a tangible presence in the courtroom, a constant reminder of the devastating consequences of my actions. And in that moment, I knew that no amount of remorse, no apology, could ever truly atone for the pain I had caused. Section 8. Scars of Loss. The years that followed were a blur of confinement and introspection. Each day melded into the next, a monotonous cycle of regret and reflection. The walls of my cell were both my prison and my sanctuary, a place where I was forced to confront the darkest corners of my soul. Prison became my new reality, a stark and unforgiving world stripped of the comforts and freedoms I had once taken for granted. The cold, hard bed, the echoing footsteps in the hallways, and the ever-watchful eyes of the guards were constant reminders of my fall from grace. The faces of the victim's family haunted my dreams, a constant reminder of the irreparable damage I had wrought. Their pain was a shadow that followed me, a ghost that whispered in the silence of the night, reminding me of the life I had shattered. I dedicated myself to rehabilitation, seeking solace in therapy and spiritual guidance. Each session was a step towards understanding the depth of my actions and the path to redemption. I found a semblance of peace in the words of my therapist and the pages of spiritual texts. I embraced the opportunity to educate others about the devastating consequences of violence, hoping that by sharing my story, I could prevent others from making the same mistakes. Speaking to fellow inmates, I found a purpose, a way to turn my guilt into something constructive. But the scars of my actions ran deep, a constant reminder of the life I had taken and the pain I had inflicted. Each scar was a testament to my past, a mark of the irreversible choices I had made. As I looked at old photographs and stared out of the barred window, I was reminded of the life that could have been, and the heavy burden of remorse I would carry forever. Section 9. A reminder in the shadows. Even now, after all these years, the memory of that night continues to haunt me. It lingers in the shadows, a chilling reminder of the darkness that resides within us all. I am no longer the person I was then, but the past is not so easily outrun. My name is Emily Motika, and this is my story. A story of betrayal, loss, and the enduring power of guilt. May it serve as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for redemption, but the scars of our actions can last a lifetime.